Throughout the centuries, the desert city of Numas has had many rulers. Some loved by the people, some hated for their cruelty, and some revered for their brilliance. One such ruler, known for their aggressiveness but incredible tactical prowess, was Imrathepis, the Crimson King of Numas. When his legions marched, they were easily recognized by their blood-red banners and shields, all bearing the mark of the scarab after which the city was named. Imrathepis rode to war at the head of his troops, atop a magnificent Kemrian war sphinx, whose armor and banners matched the crimson of his army. During his mortal life, King Imrathepis had learned a great deal from Alcadizar the Conqueror, who he fought beside as a young man. He was present in many great battles that proved pivotal in shaping the lands of Nerakara, and was instrumental in the subjugation of Khazar, the pacification of the orcs of the Black Boar tribe, and the sacking of the cursed city of Lamia. He had earned a reputation in the campaign against the Lamians, as he had bested several vampires in personal combat. In Undeath, Imrathepis' thirst for battle was no longer tempered by his mentor's wisdom, and upon awakening from his sarcophagus, the Crimson King immediately set about waging war on the surrounding lands. Soon he had reclaimed all the lands that he had ruled over in life those many centuries ago, but he was not satisfied and lusted for more power and lands than ever. After securing the deserts around Numas and reconquering Khazar, he set his focus on the north, marching his legions into the Badlands. His campaign against the orcs of the region was a bloody affair, as he swept through their defences like a hurricane of brutality. The Crimson King slew countless greenskins from atop his armoured war sphinx, cutting down the savages and crushing their bones beneath his mighty construct. He would personally lead every charge, driving his golden-tipped blade deep into the soft flesh of his enemies, acting without mercy or remorse. With the greenskins of the Badlands crushed, he turned his attention farther afield, deciding to drive eastwards across the Darklands to the Mountains of Morn. There were many enemies to slay much closer to his territories, yet the impetuous king ignored them, intent on conquest of the mountain chain. His legions marched eastwards without any resistance, save a few orc tribes that had come spoiling for a fight. It would seem that King Imrathepis' arrogance was to be his undoing, as he was finally defeated by the ogres of the Thunderhoof Tribe. Having believed the ogres to be simple brutes and easy pickings, the Crimson King was taken completely by surprise by an ogre ambush deep in a narrow mountain pass. The ogres unleashed a herd of stampeding Wynoxes within the confines of the Daggertooth Valley, leaving the king's host little time to react, with little room to maneuver. The skeletal warriors under the king's command were crushed to powdered bone by the great rampaging beasts, and only Imrathepis, atop his mighty war sphinx, survived. His construct had been rammed and buffeted, yet it stood firm, even as several cracks began to widen in its armor. Alone, and surrounded by the entire ogre tribe, Imrathepis let out a howling curse and charged forward. He smited a dozen or more ogres, expertly slashing and thrusting his blade into their exposed flesh. But the odds were insurmountable. He finally fell to the hammer blows of the tribe's iron guts, his construct crashing beside him on the valley floor. As an ultimate insult, the ogre tyrant, Fulgut the Corpulent, tore off one of Imrathepis' legs, and then fashioned it into a toothpick before returning to his lair. The royal line of King Imrathepis did not end that day, as Prince Rakaph III, the dynastic heir to the Crimson King, took the throne. Word eventually reached Rakaph of his father's fate, and roughly a decade after the Crimson King's demise, his son set out for the Mountains of Morn, seeking revenge. Rakaph led a mighty host, every bit as impressive as that of his father, but instead of just one war sphinx, he commanded a dozen of the majestic constructs. The hulking statues were marched to the summit of Crack Rock, which overlooked the lair of the Thunderhoof Tribe. Rakaph intended to enact his revenge by crushing his opponents. The row of war sphinxes battered their stone limbs into the mountainside, the ground groaning in protest at their assault. The groan turned into a loud rumble, which was followed by a deafening crack as the rock gave way and a titanic avalanche began to tear down the mountain into the valley. Before they could flee, the entire Thunderhoof tribe was buried beneath several thousand tons of rock, and Rakaph's duty was done. I doubt we will see the Crimson King or Rakaph III in Warhammer 3, but who knows what characters Creative Assembly might choose to focus on. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and subscribe. The interaction will satiate the YouTube algorithm and help this video reach a wider audience. I'm Great Tiger, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.